Hi, everyone. This is Jen Grisanti of Jen Grisanti Consultancy, Inc. And I'm very excited to be with you in video number 2 of looking at the dilemma that so many writers are facing with writing the TV pilot. And this dilemma has to do with finding the story. Now, so many writers have a clear understanding of how to set up your concept and how to set up the external plot. However, the difference is to take it over the top and make it a script that cannot be ignored. You need to understand how to develop the internal story for your TV pilot. So in video number 1, we looked at the 3 concepts, and I want to thank so many of you for writing comments and telling me your struggles with writing the TV pilot and letting me know how giving you a glimpse of tools is making a difference in the creative process. I love hearing this. In video 1, we talked about, to give you a brief recap in case you didn't see video 1, we talked about the 3 components that we are going to be going further into, and these components are emotional truth, the story of the flaw, and setting up the external and the internal story. So when you're looking at emotional truth, you are looking at why are you as the writer telling this story? And you're looking at what does the central character want or desire, and why do they want it? And you're looking at, with the emotional work, what is the emotional work that is being done in the pilot as it links to the internal dilemma. Then we went into the story of the flaw. So the flaw, many people teach, many people believe that the flaw starts when the story starts. However, I am a believer that the flaw starts with the childhood wound. So the flaw starts with the childhood wound, and this leads into a story tool that I have called the triangle of the wound, which is the childhood wound, the wound that happens before we enter the story, and the series trigger and dilemma splits open both of these wounds, and you develop your character from here. So the story of the flaw has to do with what was the earlier wound and how does the flaw stem from it. And then with your series trigger and dilemma, you trigger the desire to heal the internal dilemma. And during this process, the character becomes conscious of the flaw. And then the question is, now in television, we know the flaw is ongoing, it will never heal. However, the character does become conscious of the flaw, and this informs choice. So this goes into the story of the flaw. Then with the external internal, you're looking at plot versus story. So story goes into why do we care? It goes into the story of the flaw. It goes into the triangle of the wound. It goes into why does the central character want what they want. So this encompasses the emotional truth, the story of the flaw, and then going into developing the internal story. Then the external story is the way for the central character to achieve a quantifiable goal. You're going into the external plot. which could be very different from the internal. However, if it's written well, the external will allow an opportunity for the central character to heal the internal dilemma. So that is what we went into with video number 1. Now, in video number 2, we are going to look at things like the 3 things that you want to think about when you are writing your pilot. You want to think about wound, flaw, and desire. So these are 3 things that I tell the writers I work with, that we should feel these 3 things in every single scene. So again, you want to think of the wound, the flaw, and the desire. In my experience of working with writers, so many writers have trouble. They struggle with, what does the character want? How do you define the want? And the reason that they struggle with this is because they're not connecting the internal and the external story, so that we understand the stakes on a personal level. Why is this central character, why is their worldview special with this external pursuit? We see this in so many shows where it is clear. So I want to talk with you about a show called Rita. Rita is one of the 9 shows that I will be taking a deep dive into in my course, Finding Story. Rita is on Netflix. It is a show that is from Denmark. And Rita is about, I want you to look at these bare bone things that I'm going to share with you. So Rita is about a teacher who refuses to grow up. Phenomenal concept, a teacher who refuses to grow up. Her why for being a teacher is that she wants to protect children from their parents. Her wound is that her mother was never there for her. She left her. She was a bad mother. Her flaw comes out in immature behavior and emotional detachment. So we see her flaw with her drinking and her smoking, and she holds on to trolls as a way of holding on to her childhood. She still talks with her troll dolls like she was a little girl. And we see it in her adult life with her promiscuity. Now with Rita, the thing I want that is so fantastic is you have a character who, not a great mom, she has 3 kids, not a great girlfriend or lover, or as far as her behavior, and yet she is a phenomenal teacher, and she doesn't care about the rules, but she does care about students. She particularly cares about the underdog, because this is what connects with her wound. So Rita is a show that we will take a deep dive into. I did a full breakdown for this show in my course. In this video, I will give you a handout that will show you how the show sets up the series arc and the pilot arc. Then another show that I wanted to talk with you about is called Normal People. Normal People is on Hulu. And Normal People is a fantastic show. It feels like a play. It's a very internal story. And you have a young woman who is on the outside looking into the popular crowd. She is somewhat of a social outcast because she is very highly intelligent. And she we see her isolation. We feel her isolation. So many characters, so many writers will ask, how do you write a character with flaws that may make them unlikable and make them likable? So what normal people does that's so brilliant is this character, the flaw, Marianne's flaw is defensiveness and sarcasm. This is her flaw. We see it right away, and this could make her very unlikable. However, when we go home with this character, we see the void in the relationship that she has with her mother and her brother. And this void sheds so much light for us on why she is the way she is. So we feel her vulnerability with her flaw, even though she's defensive and sarcastic. There is a vulnerability because we feel her isolation. So this is how you write a flawed character, where you might fear that the audience isn't going to like your character. And it's fine if the audience doesn't like your character. However, we do need to empathize with your character. So in normal people, we learn in the series setup when Marianne admits her crush, and we find that one of the most popular boys in school, Colin, is actually the son of the woman who works for Marianne's mom. She is a house cleaner at Marianne's house. In the contrast of Colin's relationship with his mom versus Marianne's relationship with her mom is fascinating, and it brings us in to the wound and the void, and it helps us see the connection. So Marianne's dream desire is to be with Colin, and we see her go into action with this and hit obstacles because of her flaw. So learning to move past her defensiveness and her sarcasm so she can have intimacy with Colin and stop necessarily being on the outside looking in is part of the arc of growth in this show. And this show is an excellent show for you to have a stronger understanding of these tools. In video number 3, we are going to take a deeper dive into a lot of what I go through with breaking down shows. So breaking down TV pilots from the beginning of my career, when I started in the spelling office, and Aaron Spelling was my mentor for the next 12 years, this is where I learned the value of doing breakdowns for television shows. And now cut to 25 plus years later, and breakdowns are everything in how I look at and analyze stories. So I have selected some of the top shows in television and top shows on streaming in particular. And we are going to, through the breakdown, we are going to take a deep dive into showing you how you learn about the emotional truth, the story of the flaw, and the setup of the external and the internal story. And we'll go into one of the 9 shows in video number 3, so you can get a glimpse of this transformation. And what I want you to know with this video series is my mission is to take everything that I've learned over the last 25 years, 12 and a half years as a studio executive, and 12 years as the writing instructor for Writers on the Verge at NBC. And I put it into a course so that you will get the value of the 25 plus years in tools. And these tools are extracted from the brilliant writing that is currently being done in streaming and network television. So I would love nothing more than to see you feel how utilizing these tools will help you to do the emotional work so that your TV pilot can sell. This is my goal. This is everything I do. When I started my business 12 years ago, it was my entire focus was on demystifying the TV writing process so that the writer could understand how to write a TV pilot that cannot be ignored. Through applying these tools, you will take your pilot to the next level. So thank you so much for joining me for video number 2. And I look forward to seeing you in video number 3.